Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me on another of my amazing interviews. Today, I want to talk about Oxford. You may remember that Oxford is one of those cities, in fact, I believe it's the first one that's started to do the trials for the 15-minute city, the thing that is going to penalise you if you travel across the city more than so many times, and cameras are being put up to make sure you don't. Well, of course, it's been in the news, people have been protesting, there have been council meetings. I've not had a chance to meet anybody or talk about this particular city until now. And on the line, I've got Kim Anderson, who is born and bred in Oxford, has been to the council meetings, has got information about an article that appeared in the local paper that was then withdrawn, and has even dressed up in fancy dress in extraordinary situations to draw attention to the issue. Kim, welcome to the show. And you are actually in Oxford at the moment. Did you say you're in Broad Street?
I'm in Broad Street, Richard, that's correct. And Broad Street is a good place for me to be. I've just finished work. Which, if this all carries on, will be very difficult for anyone to work, to be quite honest with you. And this used to be where people could park their cars, Broad Street, and it was the council deemed it a place for everybody to sit down, and they were given £1 million from the government, but these little wooden boxes with a few flowers in, probably maximum would be about £300, I think, if you knock that up.
Can you show us?
And now they're going to rip those out.
Oh, right. Can you show us one of those?
Can I, if I stand up?
Yeah, I can see one. I can see one behind. Yeah, there we go. There we go. They're all over the place. Yeah. Look at them.
Yes. Now, what I wanted to say to you is I am somebody who wants the planet to, carry on, and I do care about the planet. But this that's going on is nothing to do with the planet. This is Agenda 30, Agenda 21. I've known about this stuff for many years. It's about controlling people.
Yes.
And the thing is, it started on the Cowley Road. I worked on the Cowley Road. I actually had to leave my job because I couldn't get there, because I take the bus to work. Because driving in Oxford is something that you do if you really have to. Like if you're somebody like a carer or something. Already, people don't drive in Oxford that much because it's so expensive to park, Richard.
Right. So they've already sort of ousted, because presumably there's park and ride, is there?
Yes, park and ride. Or you can just take the bus into Oxford. It's very cheap at the moment. It's only £2.
Right.
But there are times where people that have to deliver food to the restaurants here,
of course,
the carers might have to go across the city. Now, this article that was in the Oxford Mail had actually said that after the trial stage, there would be no I'm trying to think of the word, help me. There would be no special treatment for blue badge holders if they would still have to do the 100 times a year.
Oh, right. So if you're disabled and you can't walk, you're not exempt.
No. And also, not everywhere in Oxford is on the bus route.
Right.
And the trains are permanently on strike, because that's why I had to leave my second job, because I couldn't get to that one. So I'm now on my third job, and it's working out all right at the moment, Richard. I'm quite pleased about that. And there were a lot of the Oxford businesses did support the protest that we had back in February that was attended by Lawrence Fox, Katie Hopkins, and among some other people, including myself, and the people that had already gone to the town hall that were Oxford people. We went to the town hall on our second meeting. The first meeting was in Chipping Norton, where they tried to shut us up. The second meeting, all the business owners from Cowley Road, including Clinton Pugh, his restaurant is completely shut down because he couldn't make enough money. He's the father of Florence Pugh, the famous actress in America.
Okay.
So he was the sort of had two restaurants on the Cowley Road that he'd had for absolutely years. And he went to the council, because I saw him there, and said, look, people are not coming to Cowley Road because they can't get there because of these LTNs. So a lot of the businesses on Cowley Road, we did go and see them all to explain to them. So some of them supported us, others didn't think it was serious, and then soon realised it was. Because a lot of the businesses down there have actually closed down. People dread going there. And, if you can go out somewhere else and have a nice meal and it takes you 20 minutes to get there, why would you go somewhere where it can take you 3 hours?
Right.
Just to get there?
So let me just just scroll back a little bit, if I may, because I'm not
Yeah,
terribly.
sure.
I mean, I live down on the south coast. So I'm not terribly familiar with Oxford. I've been there a couple of times, but I don't know the names,
Yeah.
and I can't remember the layout of the city. So, could you just tell us what is it like at the moment? Are many roads closed off? Are these plant
It's
pots?
awful.
Is it?
It's awful. I had to meet someone from Birmingham the other day, and they said, "How on earth do you survive with this?" Because all the traffic is being pushed out onto the A34.
Is that the
Oh,
ring road?
yes,
Yeah.
all of it. So there's massive pile-ups. You've got a lot of people that commute from Oxford to London. You've got a train strike on. The best way at the moment is National Express.
So, so in
You
order
know.
to get from so something that might have taken you 10, 15 minutes then across the city, you have to go all the way around the ring road, and presumably
If you
everybody,
drive, yes.
if you drive, and everybody's doing that. And so there's,
Well, yeah, because if you were a carer,
yeah,
if you're a carer and your client lives in Botley, say, you have got to go across the city centre to get to Botley, and you can't really be in a pile-up on the A34 on the motorway or the ring road, because you need to get to that person. You need to make sure. But if there's only going to be 100 passes a year, when I was a carer, because I was a carer, okay, so I would have to visit my patients 3 times a day.
yeah.
So if it's £100 each time, £94 I think it is, each time it's over 100 passes, who's going to be able to afford that?
Well,
I'm not I'm not the best mathematician, but I can work out that 100 times if you're visiting one person to read. And thinking of the carers probably have got 20 on their books or whatever they've got to see per week.
yes.
It can't. That's going to leave old people, disabled people in their homes suffering.
Right.
Not to say the people that have got family that are not on a bus route or not on, I don't even want to say trains, because at the moment the ongoing train strike, you can't.
It's just
you
chaos.
can't plan anything. It's chaos. I was going to Torquay the other week. I thought I'd get the train. They cancelled it. Had to go on the National Express.
So when this first happened, were you asked if this was a thing that you would want? Oh, she's just disappeared. She's on her phone, so every now and again, either something brushes across the app and it sends it off. So admittedly, I'm not terribly familiar with the Oxford situation, although I think we're all learning now about how this Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, the 15-minute cities, is really not so much, if at all, about climate change and saving the planet, but more about managing people and keeping people in these 15-minute ghettos. And what I'm trying to establish really is whether anyone was actually asked if they wanted it, which I'm probably imagining the answer is no, that nobody was asked, that this has been put upon the people. And so if it's a trial and it fails, then my next question will be, why would the council continue with something that clearly people don't want? And I also would like to find out how many people are protesting, and if it's a significant number, what the council's reactions are to it. Unfortunately, I'm just waiting now to see if Kim will return to this. You may remember I was speaking to Rachel Matthews in Colchester, who has the early stages of this problem coming in, and of course the what's his name? I can't remember his name. Chris Brooks, from Thetford, who've also had the same problem, but Chris managed to get in on the council, and they're pushing like mad to prevent it from coming across. I'm just hoping that Kim's phone hadn't died, because she was there actually in Oxford. But you could see those wooden boxes, and it'd be interesting to hear from anybody else who's been in Oxford to tell us what the situation is like and how it has transgressed to this and how quickly it's moved across to this situation. No sign of Kim coming back, which is a great shame. She had an article she mentioned there in the Oxford Mail, in which I think she was alluding to the fact that these the blue passes that disabled people have in their cars so that they would be able to cross. I think the article, she said, was originally saying that would be fine, that in the event, if you had to get across in the car, you could do that. but I think then they've withdrawn that article and it's no longer there. Now, I can't confirm that, and it does look like Kim's phone has died, and we may have to get her back on another occasion. She told me that in order to get some attention, she dressed up in order to get some press coverage about the situation in, I think, one of the characters from the Hunger Games. She was telling me just before it happened. I'm assuming that her battery has died, which is a shame. We'll try and get her back on another occasion. And of course, the one of the reporters there said, well, if you want to get in the paper, you have to do something a little bit extreme. But this is such a wide issue now, and I think slowly people are beginning to wake up. And I was going to ask whether she considered the council to be kind and benevolent, but I clearly think that she doesn't. She said also there that although they'd spent, I think it was £300,000 on making these plant pots, that actually they are now ripping those out, presumably to put in something more permanent. I assume that these wooden framed plant pots are there for temporary use whilst the trial was going on. But I'm also interested to know how long the trial was going to be. Was it 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? And the congestion. How can the council answer to the congestion that is now building up on, I think she said, the A30, the ring road that goes around? That clearly must be addressed, because if you're forcing people to do more mileage, then it defeats the object of reducing traffic emissions. And if you saw my interview with Shazad, brown car guy, the other day, who went out in London in Oxford Street and Baker Street. I was thinking then of Sherlock Holmes's street, and with the meter, an official proper meter, and was reporting that actually on the road the readings were low and well within the safe and permitted areas. But actually, if you're funneling people down in the underground, that's conversely, and quite surprisingly, although perhaps not surprisingly, that was the dangerous area to be. And the amount of people, the millions of people that travel on the London Underground breathing in substandard air. So it seemed to be that actually you're safer on the surface rather than underground. We don't seem to be able to get Kim back. I'm just waiting to see if she can come back, so we may end up having to halt this. But what we did see, and the conversation I had prior to her coming on, was fascinating. I've tried to relay all of that to you. So sometimes these Zoom meetings do have their technical issues, but I want to get this video up, and it does seem as if it's not likely to happen, so that's a shame. But anyway, Kim, we'll get you on another occasion, maybe from a more solid. It would be lovely to, if anybody can send me some footage, actually, what would be great is to compile perhaps a video of, oh, here we go, Kim is back, some video footage of a town that is in this dire straits. Let's see if we can get Kim back on. Here she comes any minute now. Hello, Kim. She's just connecting the audio. Hello, Kim.
Oh, sorry about that. My phone, for some reason, completely went dead.
Yes, don't worry. We're still recording, and I've been covering for you.
Thank you. The very kind men at the Vodafone shop have said, here you are, use my charger.
Oh, how lovely. So there we go.
I explained to him what had happened, and I said, I was on an interview. I don't know if he knows who you are. And he said, no, here you go, just use that.
Fantastic.
So thanks God for that. I don't know what happened.
So
anyway, continue, please.
Yes, no, of course. So I've just covered a number of things that we spoke about off camera before we started. And one of the things I wanted to just clarify, the article in the Mail, was that the article about the blue badge? And saying that they were...
Yes, it was. It was.
And
it was the article about the blue badge, and it was withdrawn.
Right.
And
so they changed their mind.
Well, it's like they withdrew it, and they've done this before. And what they do is, if they're not happy with, because they have to tell you by law, they have to tell you what they're going to do.
Yes.
Or their plans are. All of these sort of, people at the top. But they then realised that a lot of people weren't happy about it because there was a lady with a disabled boy. I did an actual TikTok and YouTube video about it, and I actually, luckily, I screenshotted it. As soon as I saw it, I thought, I'm going to screenshot this, and I printed it out, and then I read it over on a TikTok and on a YouTube for people so that they could see that I was. Yes.
Yeah, you sent that to me.
And yes, because I thought people needed to see what was going on. I also watched the Sandy Adams interview with you, and she explained it exactly what I thought and what I've known to know, that they want to stop us flying and all the rest of it, and it's all part of what. The thing is, it's not a part of climate change. They're using that, and they indoctrinated our children, my child anyway, that generation, with it at school. All of them at that age group were taught that climate change was a given, even though David Bellamy had said he actually hadn't. David Attenborough, they kept on talking about it, but David Bellamy, although he's passed away, rest in peace, David Bellamy, he never ever believed in the climate change thing.
No, that's right. And he is a botanist. I mean, or was a botanist, and he knew that CO2 is the gas of life for plants, and consequently for us. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was told I breathed in oxygen and breathed out carbon dioxide. So for me, all of this, and like I said, in certain areas of now, what I have noticed is as well, which is another angle on this, is that it's the poor areas they're targeting with these LTNs and the AM. So it's almost like, because a long time ago we had something in the 1930s here about a wall. We had a wall where the rich people of Summertown and of North Oxford wanted to keep the peasants out, so they built a wall. It's a little bit like that.
Yes.
But in the end, the wall had to come down. It was basically pulled down by the people standing up and saying, look, we don't want this wall, Now, most people in Oxford, I think, are especially I call them the champagne socialists from North Oxford, are genuinely good people who want the best for the future, want the best for the planet. I do too, but I see through this because I know this is part of a bigger agenda. They're using the climate change people to get us all controlled and to get us like a Chinese social credit system. Yes. Which I don't know if you've ever seen.
Yes, no, and the videos are out there, and it's quite horrific.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they built this wall in the past, and history has a tendency to repeat itself. So what is going on? Have there are cameras up, presumably, and are they coming down?
No, not at the moment. The thing is, when I was at the second council meeting with my other friends that are also protesters against this, that was the first. So with Glastonbury, I'm so happy what's happened in Glastonbury, by the way. They already knew what was going on in Oxford because they'd obviously been. Some of them had been up here on our protest in February, I do believe. But ours was before that. So our first meeting of the council was in Chipping Norton in October of 2022, and then this meeting came through. I think it was around February. January was it? It was early on in the year. Or it might have been, yes, I'm not exactly sure of the actual date. Sorry, Richard, I'm terrible with dates.
Don't worry.
But we went. That was the one where people, were saying, like, there was a lady who was a dog groomer, and she was like, I'm not going to be able to do my job. And then there was obviously, at that point, we thought there might be an exemption for the carers at least. But there isn't. And that is really quite worrying. That means you don't care about those people's lives. And I don't think they do anyway, because the ambulances couldn't get through those LTNs on the Cali Road because they were like huge, great big flower pots.
Yes.
So, people could have died because in England at the moment, it's already really hard to get an ambulance. But even when the ambulance gets there, it can't get through the LTNs to the people that it needs to get to. So all the businesses on the Cowley Road now, a lot of them have closed down. Nobody really goes down there anymore, which is sad. Cowley Road is a very bohemian part of Oxford. It's a place where a lot of young people go. A lot of people from other countries have got little businesses there. You've got a lot of little Turkish restaurants that are absolutely lovely. You've got an Iranian restaurant, you've got some Moroccan, you've got Chinese, everything. So if you would look into try a different cuisine, you think, oh, Cowley Road's got everything. We'll go down there. And it is a really friendly little place, and it's been ruined. It was very multicultural, and it's actually been ruined. And the other place now is the other parts of Oxford is another poor area, which is just after the Cowley Road. It's another sort of area that they don't have an awful lot, which is a little more. But Summertown and North Oxford are not having. This is where all the rich people, all the millionaires live up there. They're not having LTNs. They're not going to be affected by it, Richard.
So that seems incredibly unfair. Have they?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So why are they not having it?
Well, because they're the ones that probably fund the climate change agenda. Because most of those,
right,
like I just said, are champagne socialists.
But what is the council's reason that they're not having it?
Well, probably their friends have given them. I mean, they've probably got. Maybe they put a bit of money into the Cayman Island bank accounts. I'm really not sure.
No, but I mean, surely the council have got to justify the reason that poorer areas or more popular areas, or people who don't have a lot of money, those areas are targeted, and why the more elite areas, the richer areas, are not having the same. Because otherwise, it's blatantly obvious. It's one rule for us and one rule for them.
Well, if you look at how they see us through history, we've been described as cockroaches, rats, all sorts of the peasants, basically.
Yes, but the council surely have got to justify this, otherwise there'd be mob rule, wouldn't there?
I think that actually they're breaking the Human Rights Act, aren't they?
Right.
Somewhere. Isn't that 2010? I'm not sure the year, but somebody said we could try and do a judicial review, and we have tried to speak. We're speaking to somebody. He's a retired lawyer. A couple of retired lawyers have been advising us on that we could take this to a judicial review, because we can't just throw it out like Glastonbury, because it's gone through to another stage.
Right.
Do you understand what I mean? And I'm not very good on all that sort of stuff. I listen to others. And I just let people know what I see going on like the woman on the street, shall I say.
So are they sending out? Are you getting bills now if you travel across? Has that process started?
Not yet.
Right.
Now the reason why they haven't done it is because at the moment the Botley Road is closed while they're doing the railway station. As soon as that's over, they'll bring it in.
Right. Okay.
So it'll be 2024. I was there when she said when it would start.
So you don't know anybody with half a dozen forklift trucks that could lift up these flower pots and just sort of, there seems to be an unfair.
People have done that.
Have they?
People have done stuff. Of course they have. I mean, especially if you had your own business down there, and
yes.
Or if your mother or your family member was, sick and an ambulance couldn't get through, I think you would resort to that, because this isn't just something inconvenient. This is a life or death situation for some people. Yes. We've got people in that, and like some people that are blue badge holders have to go to hospital on a regular basis as well, and they might not be on the bus route. Again, it's all, these buses are, and they've said that the buses were going to improve. The buses are worse now than they've ever been, and they don't go to every single place.
No,
they cut loads of our buses.
So what
they've made it. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to ask, when does the trial period end?
Well, that's, from what I could gather, as soon as the railway station is finished,
yes,
and they've sorted that out, because they want to make that with no people there. So that's going to be great for the foreign visitors. That's going to be great for.
Sorry, they want to make the railway station where there's no people.
Yeah, so you can't go and ask somebody if.
You mean no? Sorry, you mean no staff?
It'll just be robotic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be robotic.
Yeah, no. So when you said no people, I thought there was no passengers there.
No.
No staff. So yes, I've heard that they're getting rid of the stuff. Right. Okay. So So, but if it's a trial period, at some point somebody somewhere has got to say, we've tried this. It's either been successful and everybody loves it, or it's been dreadful. It's got to be on a scale of something, and at some point somebody's got to make the decision to say
no, they're just riding roughshod over the people. So many people have complained already, Richard.
Yeah.
And the people from the Cowley Road who can no longer run their business, or who can't get anywhere, they've already complained.
Yes.
They've already been to the council. That meeting that I was at, people were begging them not to do it, and they said still went through.
What is the
Because-
excuse that the council get? I mean, they have to justify, even if it's mealy-mouthed crap. They still have to justify.
Climate.
Yes, they have to justify and give it reasons why they're doing this or why this is successful.
I went to a climate change meeting and disrupted it with another couple of people. And there was a man there, and they were in a church. And I just said to him, "You're in a church. This is a place of worship. And do you believe in God?" He said, "No." And I said, don't you think that's blasphemous of you, really, to be actually holding this? You don't believe in God. You believe in climate change. Climate change is your God.
It is
And then
certainly a religion, isn't it?
Well, I looked it up, and there's a place in London where it's a college, the London Climate College or something, where they say it's Antoine Baton, if you know who he is, and he runs it with a few other people, and they say this is going to take the place of God in people's lives. Climate change will be their God. Well, it won't be my God, Richard.
No.
It won't be my God, because even with the recycling, I feel that was the first start of the control, because I know someone who works on the bins, and he told me categorically they all go in the same bin at the end.
Right.
So everybody's busy.
It's a control mechanism to get people to think they're doing something. Yeah, but going back to the council,
the other thing I want.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, go on. I was going to say that in the time of COVID, those masks were all over the place on the floor.
Yes.
Little animals were getting their feet trapped in those. There was no biohazard blends, and they were made from plastic. But no one cared about that. That seemed to be all right. It doesn't make sense to me, Richard. Make it make sense, please.
Well, I don't know that I can. What I'm trying to get to is what the council are. What's their reason? What do they say if people are protesting and saying actually
net
we don't?
zero.
That's the song sheet that they're singing from all the way.
Net zero. They say we have to have net zero.
Right.
Carbon footprint.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. It seems to me, and talking to people like Sandy and others, Chris Brooks at Thetford, and Rachel Matthews at Colchester, who are all in this, different stages of this thing, and your trial has obviously been longer. It seems that the council, the people on the ground at the council, the low-level people who are implementing this, obviously have grown up with the erroneous thought that man-made climate change is the big problem and we have to go to net zero, and they want to do the right thing, even though they have been misinformed. They think they're doing the right thing. Somewhere in the tiers above that are people who know that this is Agenda 30 and there's being control. Do you think the people that you talk to at the town council, although they're singing from the net zero hymn sheet, do you think that they don't really understand the fact that they're actually building a prison for people to be in? They just think they're saving the planet.
I think that they are people that think they're saving the planet, some of them. The more senior ones, I don't know so much, because are they just, wanting all those bonuses, wanting all that money they're getting? Because when I went to the first council meeting, they were giving each other bonuses and then gave £2,000 only to the police and to relieve people of council tax. And as you know, at the moment, we are in a cost of living count. And that's when I stood up and said, £2,000 for the people of this, of this area, but you were all slapping yourselves on the back and giving yourselves all these bonuses. Something's corrupt here. And he said, sit down. I said, I will not sit down. I said, this is a public building and you'll listen to me. And I thought everyone was just going to go against me because I'm not, from, I don't know, Eton or something. And then the next thing was there was a lot of people, well-heeled people behind me that were actually agreeing with me and told them off for speaking to me in that way, and said that they should answer my question. And they didn't really answer it, though. No. Duncan Enright actually ran away from me and my friend. Duncan Enright has now got famous because of my video, not just my video, but because of the videos and the things that we did. And he got famous around the world. And who? Duncan Enright and Liz Leffman.
And who is he? Just for
Duncan
those.
Enright.
Yeah, for those.
He
that
was
don't
the
know.
head of the council that dealt with this, and he was at both of the meetings. And basically, he ran away from me and my friend in that video because he couldn't answer our questions.
Right.
I was saying, what are you going to do about people that need to get to work, people with their small businesses, carers? And he was just evading the question. And he said, but it'll be great. You'll love it. He said to me, he said, you'll have everything on your doorstep. I said, I might not want everything on my doorstep. I said, I've got family that live in Kent. I might want to go and visit them.
But
I might want to go in a car.
Isn't everything on your door? I mean, do we need 15-minute cities as they describe them? Isn't everything on your doorstep, more or less, if you live in Oxford, within roughly 15 minutes?
Look, I live near Oxford, and I can get into Oxford. And before this COVID thing,
yes,
not COVID, sorry, wrong one. Before this was all going on, I could get into Oxford. Actually, during COVID, because I was working during COVID, I could get into Oxford in 20 minutes.
Right,
because there wasn't.
My point is, and I often make this observation, that although they're pushing us to these what they're calling 15-minute cities, but if you live in the surrounding, I mean, what are they going to? They're not going to put to your house another hospital, a police station, a fire station, a water cleaning station, sewage, so that you have all those amenities within 15 minutes of your house now. Clearly, they're not going to do that. Clearly, they're not going to suddenly put a whole branch of shops and things that you're in a park all within your 15 minutes. And then somebody on the other side, say 20 minutes of you on the west, south, north. They're not going to do the same around that because that's obviously ridiculous. So isn't Oxford already a centre which has all those amenities in it anyway? So why do they need to call this a 15-minute city if by its own natural organic way that it's grown up over the century, that it is already a 15-minute city? And so therefore
I totally agree.
Yeah. So I mean, the guy you just said who said we're going to have all this stuff on your doorstep, surely the argument is, but it's already there. I don't need all this claptrap that you're pushing towards me because it's already there. As you said, I can get in within 20 minutes if I want to drive. But
I don't necessarily want to stay within 15 minutes of where I live. I might want to go visit my friend who lives half an hour away.
So are they? I get it. So that's the key. That's the key thing. Are they saying to you categorically in black and white that you will not be able to leave at all that 15-minute
Well, it'd
zone?
be like a South African transit.
But my point is, are they saying that in so many words that you cannot leave? Are they, in other words, saying you will be a prisoner?
Well, they are, yeah.
Are they saying that not implying it, but saying it in actual words?
Well, Duncan had on his website, it said that it was going to be a 15-minute city. And we had evidence of that.
Yes.
We showed him that, and that's when he ran away.
Yes.
Because it said on his website that it would be 15 minutes, and then he said, "Oh no, it's 20," and I went, "Oh, a whole 5 minutes."
Right, okay. But what I'm trying to sort of, and I'm not trying to be difficult here, but what I'm what I'm trying to get to is, if the premise is that Oxford or these towns already have amenities that are pretty much everywhere, so in other words, you're already a 15-minute city. As such, by default, that you could say stand in the centre of Oxford and you could get to most of the amenities that you could need generally within 15 minutes. So then by default, you're already a 15-minute city. But you raised the very important thing, saying, but I might like to go somewhere else. Thank you very much. So I'm asking.
You couldn't answer me.
No. So
answer me.
Well, that's my crux.
Yeah.
Are they saying that you will not be able to leave the 15-minute city?
You will if you want to walk, ride a bike, but not if you want to drive your car.
So are they saying you won't be able to leave to go to Cambridge or to...
Well, you can if you've got money, because it's a rich man's con, isn't it? Because you'll pay the £100 for somebody with a £1 billion house. They'll be able to afford the fines.
Right. So in other words...
Somebody like myself won't be able to afford the fines. So in an event, again, it's a feudal system. It's the feudal system.
Yeah, no, I absolutely hear all the emotion and stuff. I'm just trying to get to the nub of the logic of it. So in other words, they are saying in so many words that if you have the money, you can travel as many times as you like if you just keep paying the fines.
You can pay.
Yeah. And that's
Yes.
effectively what
But
it
if you
comes.
don't,
Yeah.
if you don't have
Yeah, no,
the
of course. If
money,
you don't have the money, you have to
then
pay the
yes.
fines, and life is terrible. I understand that. So I'm just trying to find a
Yes.
remedy and saying, well, surely that's what you've got to call out in significant numbers and say, but this is a two-tier system.
Yeah. I think it is against our human rights, Richard.
Well, absolutely. I mean, in the first instance, if they haven't asked you and you all live in this area and you are
What they did,
the
Richard, in
community.
the very beginning of this, they put out some kind of survey on MSN. Now, MSN is a very old platform that probably people in their 30s would have used when they were teenagers.
This is
Most of the
this is Microsoft MSN Messenger. This old, yeah.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
that's the only place that anyone would be able to see that this was going to be a thing.
So
when I started talking about it,
yeah,
people thought I was barking mad.
Right, but if they're going to drill your road, you know, like if they drill your road, they put notices up on lampposts. At least they certainly do around here. They give you 24 or a week's notice. Don't park here. They put the cones out. If there's a property across the road that wants to have an extension, they have to let you know, and they send letters to your house to say, dear resident, the property across the road would like to put in some extra winter, whatever it is. So what you're saying is that the council did not publicly, other than on an obscure,
only on MSN.
Yeah, on an MSN.
An obscure little website called MSN that no one uses anymore.
Yeah, so
that most teenagers today wouldn't even know what it was. You'd have to be in your 30s
got that. But so they didn't put it in the newspaper. They didn't put a leaflet in everybody's door to say,
no,
we would like to do this. What do you think? There's a public consultation on Thursday, the 23rd of whatever. And come along and let us know if you want this. So they just didn't notify the
consultation that they spoke about was on MSN.
Yeah, no, yeah. So that's what I'm saying.
But we had inside information, and we're not going any further than that. We were told that this, you know, by people that were worried, that reached out, and I'd already, people that knew about Agenda 2030, people that knew about Agenda 1992, all that stuff, you know, that's been going on.
Yes.
Agenda 2020, what was it, 2021, and then it was Agenda 30.
Yeah.
Well, we were aware of that. There were other people that were working in sort of places that are also aware of all that stuff.
Yes.
And so we kind of got to know. And then that's why we went to the first council meeting about it, which was in Chipping Norton. And then we went to the second one, which was in the town hall of Oxford. And that was when all the people had got to know, because we had let people know. We then had the big protest.
Yes.
And that's when everyone got to know around the world. And that's when we made Duncan Enright famous.
Yeah.
And then it was in Australia. I mean, it was going around everywhere.
How far is Chipping Norton from Oxford town centre?
Longer than 15 minutes, Richard.
Right. I mean, is it local? Is it local?
Oh, it's about 20. It's probably about 30 minutes on a bus.
Right. Okay.
And
so it's well outside.
They came in their cars.
Yeah.
They were asked, "How did you get here today?"
It just seems.
We drove.
Is that where they normally would do meetings, in Chipping Norton?
They did a meeting in the Chipping Norton because a lot of the councillors that were on board with this were from that constituency.
Right.
Yeah?
Okay.
And
so
then
I was just thinking, it's very strange that they're not. Is there not a council chamber in Oxford town centre where people could have come in?
Well, then again, they were trying to keep it hidden, I think.
Yeah.
The second one.
Well, that's the conclusion I was drawing. That's why I just wanted to, because I don't know the layout. Just trying to sort of work out how far Chipping Norton is.
I think
from
you're right, actually.
Yeah.
You've actually put something into my mind that I hadn't actually considered. But
it seems weird that you'd have it outside of the city if you're having a public.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of all the ammo you've got to throw at them and saying, well, why would you have the meeting 20 minutes out of the town centre when it's the town centre that's in question, and people from the opposite side of the town would like to come to that meeting, yet you've made the journey. You know, I don't know where Chipping Norton is whether on the compass, but let's just say it's north for the sake of argument. I don't know, but if it is,
yes.
Then people on the south have got to get from south of Oxford into Oxford and then across to 20 minutes north. So by having it in this obscure location, they've made it more difficult than if they said the meeting for the consultation of 15-minute city low traffic neighbourhoods is in the town centre. That's all I'm saying. It's just like
Absolutely. No, you're right, Richard.
very
You're totally
obscure.
right.
Then, of
It
course,
was.
it escalated. So what is the situation now? What's going to happen next?
Well, the situation now at the moment is gathering information from people that live in that area.
Which
to
area?
see how it's going to...
Oh, the area.
The Cowley Road.
Yeah.
Which we've already had a lot of information from that. Also, how it's going to affect these bus gate things that are happening as well in Littlemore. That's the next one. Trying to get together with a few people to see how we can go about getting a judicial review about it, really, because we need to throw it out. And Glastonbury gives us great hope that you can actually throw it out, because they've thrown it out.
How many
but
people?
My worry
do most people in Oxford not want it? Have you had protests?
Well, when we had the protest, that's when it created so much interest, because there were leaflets put through everybody's door through Oxford.
Yes.
So we had a massive protest, and there were leaflets put through every single person's door in Oxford got a leaflet, but they didn't talk about Agenda 2030 and what we know what is the end goal.
Sometimes that can muddy the water because it's too
scary.
Much for people. Yeah, it's too scary.
Of course it is.
But
we just explained to them how much they were going to be fined.
Yes.
And that around 100 passes a year.
Yeah.
And and if they worked,
but
it was
what's this in the population of Oxford? How many people, by percentage, would you say don't want it?
I would say most people don't want it, but at the moment we're in a cost of living crisis. People are working themselves to the bone here just to pay their bill. The normal everyday man and woman on the street. And they don't have an awful lot of time to think about it, Richard. People are literally living hand to mouth.
Yes.
And as you know, poverty concentrates the mind to the point where you can't think about, you're just thinking about your immediate issue. Like, I've got to get my bills paid. So many people, I mean, Martin Lewis was on the TV the other day. I don't know if you saw him.
No.
He was almost crying
about
the people and how they can't afford to live. Yeah. So that's another.
Yes. So
because
So what I'm trying to work out. I mean, the cost of living crisis is an issue, but it's not the issue we're discussing. And I'm just trying to keep us. I'm trying to keep us on track.
I'm trying to say, Richard, with the cost of living crisis, when people are so worried about eating and paying, they can't think about anything else. Even if they are going to be in prison in 2 years, it's like when you're that poor, it's immediate. You've got to go to the food bank that night. You can't. You're exhausted.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Well, yes, I do get that. I'm just trying to work out how many people are affected then at the moment. But is it just a couple of roads? Because you've mentioned a couple of roads.
Oh no,
is it the whole of Oxford?
I'd say it was most people. I mean, like I said, someone came to Oxford from Birmingham yesterday, and they said, "How on earth do you cope with this?"
Yes. Yes. So is it every road in Oxford that's got these?
There's roadworks on a lot of the roads here.
Not roadworks, but the blocks, the flat or the
blocks,
the charging.
Yes, the blocks are on the Cowley Road. They're now going on to Littlemore. They're gradually getting more and more. But
how many? I mean, you've only. What I'm trying to get. I'm clearly not able to express myself clearly.
Yeah.
If you've got 100 roads in Oxford, how many roads are affected at the moment?
Well, I would say the whole of Cowley, which is one area, are affected.
Yeah.
I can't say exact many roads, but
No. I'm just what I'm trying to. Let me imagine I'm you for a second, and I've asked me this question: how many roads? So if I was talking about Worthing, where I live, and the same situation, I might say to you, at least half of Worthing you can't get across because it's blocked off and you have to go on the ring road. Or I might say all of Worthing is affected by it. Or I might say, actually, it's only 5 roads in this area. So that's what I'm just trying to get a measure for the audience who don't know Oxford.
If I can explain, to get to the town centre, Cowley Road is one of the main roads. It's one of the poorer areas.
Yeah.
It's one of the main roads, and all those roads off there and all those people, which as a whole, I don't know if I wish I knew the figures of how many people.
No,
you're talking a small town amount of people cannot get anywhere.
That's one approach, but is there no other approach?
The only way they can get round it is to go onto the motorway, which is now jam-packed.
Right, okay.
And
they
are in a massive stress because they're waiting there for a long time to get, so you can't get around.
Yeah. Okay.
Fast.
I'm just trying to work out how many
I
people,
know, and I'm trying to explain.
how many people are
Probably,
affected.
I would say 2 small towns amount of people, because Oxford is a city.
Yes.
So if you think of 2 small towns,
Yeah.
because all the little roads that go off of those places, these are both main roads into the city.
So the other
and
people,
all the little roads are affected. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's two small towns. I don't know how many small towns would make up Oxford now, but so the other people, are they just disinterested? Is there apathy?
I think there is. I think they are, but until it actually affects them personally,
right?
A lot of people are very apathetic in our society now. They're just like, oh, well, it's not happening to me, so I'm not worried about it.
Right. Okay.
That is how people are.
Yeah. So that's what I was trying.
It actually affects them.
Yeah. So I was just trying to get a measure of whether all of Oxford are up in arms, or just certain pockets of Oxford are up. Because not knowing Oxford, and I haven't been there for donkey's years.
No.
And I don't know the ins and outs.
I wish I had. I wish I was a little more eloquent on that. I can also say that when the leaflets went out, there was a lot more interest, a lot more people realised, and I think they know that it's going to. But a lot of people don't know what to do.
No. So is the pressure? I mean, the activists who don't want this to happen, are you still engaging with everybody and saying, look, we're unhappy about this, or has it sort of just dropped down to the point where people are just quietly acquiescing?
I don't think people are acquiescing. I think at the moment people are thinking what we need to do. We've watched the success of Glastonbury.
Yeah.
In the next couple of weeks, I think we will have to kind of get together and talk about what has happened, and where we go forward with the judicial review, which is what we've been told that we can challenge it with that.
Right.
A lot now people are realising that they care. I think people have only thought it was going to affect them if they're going across Oxford, to go out for the evening or something. I don't think they've realised, because remember they took that Oxford Mail article off, which is why I highlighted it and put it on the social media. And I've had a lot of people coming back and said, oh my gosh. I said, well, yeah, they do that. People don't know their rights. They don't know the law. And this is what the problem is in our country. People don't know the law. They don't realise that these government officials are meant to serve us, that the police are meant to serve us. They believe that they have to bow down to them, that they're the authority and that they're going to save them. No one's coming to save you. You've got to do it yourself. And that's the bottom line.
And I agree, that is the bottom line. Thank you so much, Kim, for talking to me and telling me about it. Sorry, I was trying to be a bit forensic there, so I was just trying to find out.
Understand.
Because Thetford is much smaller, and I've interviewed Chris and the guys at Thetford, because it's much smaller, more people. It's a more visible presence, and they were able to challenge. I said I'm learning that in a city, of course, this is a lot more tricky, because there's, I don't know what the city, 500, 1 million people is it in Oxford?
Probably more. I mean, you've got all the students, it's just one population.
Yeah.
And that's why they brought it here in the first place.
Yeah.
Because students have been indoctrinated at school, because I don't call it an education anymore, I call it indoctrination. Because they were all brought up, that age group, to believe in climate change.
Yes. But
it's not their fault.
Yes. Most of
the students are riding bicycles in Oxford. So that's why they brought it here. They're woke, they're young, and
yes, well, they'll only be students for a certain length of time, and they'll only be able to ride bicycles for a certain length of time, because presumably at some point they'll get a job, and they'll either have to get on a train to go to that job, or a bus, or they will need a car. And at that point, if they aren't able to drive in their car, they may not be able to do the dream job that they think they're going to do, because suddenly they discovered...
That's what we're trying to get across to them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we try and get across to people. And also, you've got young people that do a lot of commuting. And with the train strike, you've got even more people in cars anyway.
Yes.
That have to commute to London. There's so many people from Oxford that commute to London. And Birmingham, actually, which is the second largest city in the UK. You've got Birmingham's buzzing now. Lots of people have to go to work from Oxford to Birmingham.
Yes.
And it's a very expensive place to live, Oxford. It's probably the most expensive place to live in England. So you have a lot of very well-off people here too. And the climate change agenda needs to keep them happy. So that's why it's not going to those areas. I don't know about Woodstock. I'll have to have a look. I'd be very surprised if Woodstock will be having any LTNs or any, because that's another very well off area, Blenheim Palace and all that. So I'm not sure whether I doubt very much they'll be having the LTNs and the.
I can't imagine that there'll be a very great big planter stuffed just in front of the driveway of Blenheim Palace.
No.
Sorry, madam, you can't go up your drive more than 100 times because the council have deemed it not suitable. Because you are polluting the planet with your horse and carriage. I also
wanted to say to you something, Richard. I wanted to say thank you for highlighting what's going on, because people are watching your videos, and people are, videos like you're doing are making people have a look at things, and even if they think whatever they think, they will go away and have a little research, hopefully, and see if they don't know anything about this already.
Well, it would be great from my point of view. It'd be great to get a member of the council on here to justify it, because I can't see how they can justify it, and I would love to hear their.
Well, I can give you some names. There's Liz Leffman. There's Duncan Enright. These are the people at the top.
Yes.
And our, we've got Annabella Dobbs. She's also somebody that people go to, like an MP clinic,
right?
Where you go and if you've got problems. And there's also Layla Moran.
Yes.
Although I personally have tried to contact her a few times about various things, and I never get an answer.
No.
I
doubt it's doubtful that they would come on a show like mine anyway. But
Annalisa Dobbs is meant to be very, very, very approachable.
All right.
So,
okay.
Duncan is the main guy that I knew that was dealing with all this. Duncan Enright, he was the guy that was orchestrating all this. Like he was coming over to me and saying it's going to be fab, and I was saying I might want to go to Greece for a holiday once a year, Duncan, on an aeroplane, and he looked horrified. I don't know what he thought where I wanted to go. A rainy weekend in Blackpool, maybe, I don't know, but I do like to go on holiday, and I think most people do, but. The private jets will still be going, Richard, but the likes of us, the airports are all going if they get their way. You'll only have Heathrow. All the others will be gone by 2025. Did you know that?
Well, I imagine a few people might put some big planters on the runway at Heathrow then to prevent those private jets from taking off. I'm not condoning that.
That's a great idea.
I'm not condoning that, but there is a thing. If the elite overstep the mark, then everybody else will do something about it. But I'm not condoning and saying do it, obviously. However, people will be people. Kim, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you.
Good
I
luck.
wish I had more, information to give you, but
you've given no, but it's fine because you've given me. I mean, I've been a bit cheeky there and sort of pushed on certain things because I'm just trying to establish it in my mind.
And I'm not the best person who knows exactly how many. I'm not very mathematics.
But I'm absolutely on your side. It sounds to me that, of course, this is it's all predicated on the myth of global warming, man-made global warming, which is a nonsense. I do believe that a number of the councillors think that they're doing the right thing, but they've been so indoctrinated and they are being pushed and bribed, I believe, by higher tiers up the government and the puppets.
I don't know how far it goes, how high it goes,
well,
Richard. I'd be interested to know. But I will say there is that college in London where they are teaching all about this climate change. I did disrupt a meeting of the climate change here where I asked him, do you believe in God? He said no. And then I said, how can you let me know how you know climate change is real? Yeah. And they all looked at me. A lot of them had masks on, so I couldn't really see their faces.
I can tell you that
it all goes together.
Rachel Matthews told me and showed me in the document for Colchester, that they did not have any proof that climate change was a thing. And they couldn't answer that. And so they were making a strategy or a policy based on something they had no evidence for. And again, this does seem to come down to the same thing. If you're disrupting the habitation of people or the community, the city, whatever, for a policy that has no evidence of the fear that they've got, then why the bloody hell are they doing it and putting everybody through this dreadful
We're
situation.
putting this through hell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a basic human right to be able to travel where you want. And like I said, a lot of people have family. Oxford is a city, but there's lots of people that live in little villages outside Oxford
And
that might have family.
presumably,
And they wouldn't be able to get there.
let me
without
just
a
ask
car.
you this. If you have an electric vehicle, is that okay?
I'm not sure about that.
Because isn't that the
probably think
answer?
it would
Aren't we
be.
all supposed to have electric vehicles because there's no pollution? Although we know, of course, there's huge amounts of pollution in producing
Can I
electric
just
cars.
say, with the electric cars, one, they're very expensive.
Yes.
Two, they're worse for the environment than the
No,
fossils.
I agree. But the point is...
Lithium.
Yeah, no, let's not do all that argument because I
No,
accept that.
but-
Most people know that now.
Yeah.
But what my point is, we've been told, certainly in London, if you have an electric car, this is low pollution, low this, low the other. And we're all being told we've got to go to net zero. So I'm asking if you have an electric car, can you still go 100 times through the city? Or does that not...
I think that's something that I would like to find out
There
for
you go.
sure.
If somebody
before
knows,
I get an answer
let
on
us
that.
know here. And
I will.
Yeah, brilliant.
I
Okay,
will.
Kim, got to go.
If I come on again, I'll get more info on. You've given me food for thought, Richard. I'm going to go and
Excellent.
look, and I'll keep you informed
Do.
on what we do next with the judicial review.
Brilliant.
I
Thank you
hope
so
we get
much,
it thrown
Kim.
out. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. It was lovely talking to you.
Yeah, lovely talking to you. Look
Bye.
after yourself.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There we go. That's Kim Anderson in Oxford, and wonderful to talk to her, actually on location. I'll be back with more interviews and monologues, etc. Until next time, thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.